I'm tired. I'm exhausted. Bana ba satane. Hasiki hosha hui ha hasiko hoshwa hui kepela king. Kamatakwan. I can tell you. Somebody ko paling ping story niya nasa different because this one, I'm sorry. Hakidigi. Sibaka sa sakakang runa radlaverin si fatsi. Radzaya most riding sarana. Tabaro runa re bogetsu. Si velelwe we oh. Gabanto na baka satan. Sizubayan za what? Exactly. Control. Heban. Sister Zikimo uya kamugala emtatwen. Uzijele ubutiena uzo control. Ubruam. Uzijele ubutiena uzo control ayazin. Bantu base occult magic. Kuparibueng. Kharatlotleng. Molifing. Naki grand dekalon. Ntuheleng haki bolam. Because kubola it's just gonna be a thing. Wait again in. Azanka le kupa miracle. Azanka kupa na ukutela morahu ko South Africa. Azanka kupa na hore. Ngirenke because Grace happened like sabat lukutela ra. Next sabat lukutela so much so that I didn't want to go back. That normal I think you could listen to septum piercing. I mean nice. Khalenze le tenga azanka yenza. Azanka yenza. Make it so sure if I want to get rid of it. But wait again. This is gonna stop. Maybe some D-Day. Nose piercing. This one over here. Inile some other one. And I took it down because of interview. And I kept it off because, you know, trying to give it decent looking for corporate. Let's just have a conversation. Azanka ko pa now lo bereka. Lebatho ba taweng. Ba subileng matekwani. Bantse ba hopa up and down no. Makhudima ga beach ball. Nkara kiri kangaroo. Basas bias kele mesotlo khela bana ba batho hore ba gole. Utlwelang ne. Filter ya mina isa yang khaza. Bona ke filter. Ga ka para di braille. Are you shocked? Are you surprised? Aka para di braille. Ga ka para ke lipstick nothing. Okay, maybe lipstick ke pero not the one that you're looking at for me right now. Ke filter. Ke enjoy. Na go para di filter. Ke di enjoy guys. Because I'm a creative. It's fun. Humanat my lifing. Hoba cray. By cray, I don't mean khosangana. Ma hoba creative. And ever since corporate in Kaza, Tigolo, Kafaharama Mala. I've just been chilling around in some strange boulevard on some kids saying kapapilla ba nice. Huluki guys. Linkubil. Les shapiles chueta mastrating. Hopping up and down, no lead resorlena, Halerata legatsula, Halerata legatsula. Huluki. Lerata hotzula is so good in the head. Kabana horohomana de hotzul. Because, I mean, you keep doing it. Utlalang lena baratan hotzul. Hagalekupa mereko malifing. Azang nakakogota minya konya lena karampem mereko. Okay. Janoki ni kastressing na sa hobora. Lebatla hong foster na hore. They basically just kind of abandoning the only thing in Kiralang sense in my life thing. Guys, easy. Naku para discussing. Ubanang my piercings ne. Look at my trach. That's my tragus. But like, look at my industrial. And then this little baby over here. Other tragus piercings. Marai one is really. There's just nothing but the backstopper thing. So cute. That's what I'm getting at. Dito minay the jaga harira si te khabotlo ko khagana. Dikatsaga jewelry. Hagito khonan na malafing unenze ki hopa up and down no go cooperating. Azanga naka kupa ko kuthela morago because at the end of the day nekitswile mo yona cooperating thing. Only because Leona inkapotsi. Inkapotsi jaka bogat. Inkapotsi. Leona inkapotsi. It's a liski payar off my body now. I did not choose to leave corporate. I don't know how many times I can say that. Azanga nakakita huba like a wall. Kile na linkubileng. Batong linkubil. Linkubile na malaysing is kile he piki perekela. Hulamanate mastrating. Ability sara hore na all of a random Saturday hore. Hagi deserve hubalimi miracle. Hagi deserve mo miracle na. Santala lang tayo wana bato armas kipsane. Wamarena Jesu. Lamagoba. Link to it's a miracle. Hakatamon na hagi creator. Ki punya ki kwaya piercing. Lili tabeta minaiza di rasi tegadi piercings because kiabona rena hagi khuteliko corporate. Oboba lemona minaiza girl. Oboka lemona orina wait taking a rena roko khutlisa go dry and bland. Roko khutlisa maracho Karabo. Go dry and bland, go desert. Go whirlwind, go thunderstorm. Rogo khutlisa morago go di bosong tse sa earring sense. Rogo khutlisa morago go di chicken. O tlo go borang. A go jwetsa gore na re Karabo grand shop ke feel nkare mo America wa ha o complete. And I'm like, Maraboso, last time I checked, file instruction got the bullet pointing. Ke fulfillile 1 to 20 bullet points tsa gago tsotlhe. Nna re kenye e shotang exactly sisters. No, Mara sister girl, oi kraya problem. Oi kraya. Because why such a way hunter ntse setting is ke le ba bona batho ba. Ba go searcha hunter. Ba searcha hunter. Phoso e seteng. Ba searcha hunter phoso e seteng. Nna jaanong jaaka ganeng ke bile ke le all innocent. Hobaneng mo life le batla go foster tse ding to hore ke di iri. Hobaneng tse ding to le batla go foster hore ke di iri ke sa di kene. Hobaneng nya ya claim ke tlo ira clear this thing hore nna ha ke le tshabe mara le tsibile matsa kwane le wa rata le shwani ke pela ka ona. We're not doing this. Yo. Let's come kutlang nang ke le busy ke retsa ke tsola ka di tswana di sotho. Le no ke grand mo life ha ke grand ha ke mnande. Bona filter ya mina isa e wa ga botlhoko jwang ga ke na coffee. Ha ke na coffee. Wait azanka le kopa msebetsi. As in cheers ne coffee. Everybody knows your name. There was a time when I was flailing my tsogo mo the sky. I'm too sang daughter. I was like, help me, I'm drowning. And then people just stood back and were like, I was like, why what is with the looking at me? Drown to drown. Maramurana just so abang petty gills. Ang ability jaka fish to breathe in nakafatlasameti. And now that I am this aquatic marvel walking at you, nang mo lifing, hohema tlasameti, ke Ariel under the sea, lena lemona ha ay batong. Another mo lifing when are you gonna cease hostilities against the body of Christ? Like abatubata wing. Nyaya tlako paritling. Ko mina ne lo bona makeup niya na ifola off. It's alright. Hulukile. Jaga tepotuna. Hulukile. Because I'm like a creative. And that's all that matters at this particular juncture. So lanze kimina khwa khaza. Janong jaga halebo ro ke taba hore nna ke motho wa go khaza lanze kimina. Another stop mafosi anena. When are you gonna stop kulmamanga no yazin? Guys, anginqelanga ispan. There was a time when minkhala ngithi ngisizeni. Ngaphuma ngoba ngibonile ukuthi grand shop lezinja lezi zonke. On the periphery left and right. Anifuna ukuthi ngibe grand. Halase bye. Skele masoro gibe grande. Ke bon. Ke le bankri le shapile straight la. Most rateng but naked. Khele rata le ka tsola aker. How you gonna discover? Ntlogela bona ke motho wa creative. Ga o sena mmereko o zama go etsa anything work. O bodla o apara makeup ya go nna fake, ya filter. O apara septum piercing is something that you can't rock in corporate South Africa. O tlatsa ditsebe tsa gago di rasitse ka di piercings cause you can. O tlogela di edges tsa gago di seleni. Miriri ituleng it's so fit. O tlogela hairstyle e blomile jaka tsotsela mo godima tlhogo o sa bring it down cause wa fa. Cause gauna 9 to 5 that keeps you alive. Utala. Kitsile nna go di building tsa lena tsa go bona ni sangenebo guys. Kitsile. Go bana lengkubile mo lifing like a soccer ball lang raga. It's what you did. Lengkubile guys inis. Lengkubile la Karabo no right to my lifing. It's okay. We're not girl. Rahu jumpaka peace. Kiringa yamara ho baning ling jumpaka peace hakisoni ready. Dreams, I'm a poo-poo. Ako tlogela corporate maybe kilo ira entrepreneurial pursuit endeavor yan. Mara hakisoni ready. Lang jud sa Karabo also save milioni gel hulot kala business kuba rena. Yo. Nan kosha before I could get my experience and start a consultancy firm. Using my skills that I acquired in corporate. I mean, that was like a whole thing. Ne? It was a thing. I was going to start a firm at some point. I don't think I was going to stay in corporate South Africa. No, actually, correction. I was going to stay in corporate South Africa, but I was going to start my own corporate. I was going to start a business. I was going to start a consulting firm. But I needed to garner for myself decent experience. Maybe get to the age of like 35 after having worked as a program manager for a couple of years, and then start my own management consulting firm. Yeah, but like, that didn't work, did it? Lingubile before I could be a new startup giving consultancy services. You took away the ability for me to continue to garner for myself experience that I might ultimately start a management consulting firm, because that was like my whole dream. I wanted a consulting firm. I wanted to start a bit of a McKinsey. I wanted to start a bit of a Deloitte. Yes. Because I'm that girl. Ke tlhalefile. Ke ntswembo. Ke mang o lo ntsa ba ka morago a re nnyaya o butiwetse ke nna ga ke tlhaloganye koloi ya gago. Ga ke tlhaloganya nga re e paketseng morago wa rona. Disrespect kana e tshwana le baloyi. Anyway, I was gonna garner for myself experience in corporate South Africa until I started my own firm. I was gonna gather network opportunities. I was gonna mix with some people. I was gonna create partners. I was gonna meet a colleague that I trust with whom maybe to start the business. I was gonna do that. But then you cut me short. You got me fired. What's lang kumaraw mole kya boreha. Because everything yang bora. Obuti ubatlang. Somo minaiza nakaka asa. Ke batho kaofela wetse ke ni nakaka mema motho mara batho ke mo ba busy ba tsena ka fa gare ntlo ya minaiza ke sa ba mema. Utlwelang. Problems for days nyaya. Linkubile before I could do anything. So because you made sure hore nna ga ke kry sufficient experience to be a believable consulting firm, because you made sure that I can't make business partners, that I can't talk with some people and spark up an idea to start a consulting firm, wait thinking abuta ke mo botlo raba kolo ya gago ya go bora tloga ha re go tsebe ha ona motho o go hirileng ya ja ka nna le nna ga ona motho o hirileng mara ke tsitwa nna nka re se ke le staff member se reportang to somebody, or like I said, wa ikepela motho a teng tamatekwana obuti wetse ke rona ro gura mo life after school is after school go santlo because one interrupta ke na ntwe ke lelang eo ke lela ta wa rona ke interruptwa and I'm not so sure about who wetsa halang da obuti ke nka wena kopa o tsamaye wetsang ke hanka lo botsa di brother o go tlomeleni ke the courier vehicle it isn't saying revela mona and I guess bicycle msateng ke bona motho wa ngdisteba peace ana motho ba ka ngfa khotso mo lifeng aka khumuntu ofuna ukunginikeza mina impumulo even though ngiyayideserve akuclear la emgaqweni ukuthi mina ngideserve ipeace kodwa anginikezwa ipeace but it's all good in the hood cause mina I belong to the prince of peace ningazonyanza nizolimala lolimala nna ke motho wa prince of peace good Jesu Kriste ke morena wa minaiza ene Jesu Kriste e khotleang ga se morena wa batho bana kaofela mo strateng e ntse ba tlema go ba bazalwane cause if ne le bazalwane you wouldn't be literally all about that business ingani ukungilimaza kabuhlungu njena it's cause nishaye is straight line emgaqweni lijumpila tsulis cause hale rata le katsula jaka hale tutse khagana le naked of course lotella Halili naked mo strutting because ke mango sa teneng khasa barandi aparo batho ba ipitsang bazalwane kopa re tlotleng halisi Jesu khele sugumeza like no man's business yazin abantu baga Jesu khale bazalwane I don't know how many times to wait taking one bora di guy and like it's like tlhaloganye gore grandpa go tsang go dila ka ene somebody else is attending to the loud noisome gongy person ke borwa nje fela ke postman Pat what did I do to deserve that on top of it. Or postman Pat to reach the fella horo obloma cause like it's just he feels like it's his right to ublome chartini to double pack in moto yetu and just hang make like a flower. Oh. Hi. Good.
I'll take it.
Alright. She said she'll take it.
Okay.
There we go. Postman Pat finally dealt. How was my hair looking at the best? That's the thing, right? Kinto eke thalosang eo mona thing. Motho unzale mona akitse boy asa diliga Postman Pat. He's like, "Ngicanga uthakuna umuntu. Ukhona dude. Kodwa akusim. Angi-ordanga anything. Why? Because anamali. So I don't expect anybody to be dropping off any courier documentation all up in my grill. What did my hair look like? Le boni product build up. Le di brilliance di what him. Hakenze ke shabana le Postman Pat. But it's okay. Because Postman Pat is about to be on his way. That's the kind of stuff in Jefela Engborang. The amount of people baphela around Nabang Tella. Habakata home Tella, if I know I'll take it. Another offended saying Postman Pat. Omabona. Menza who Tanzara Bakoloi. Marandefela wa enjoy and Jefela Hansang Rasedita Koloya high lady exhaust fumes. No hate to Postman Pat. Bye bye, Obutuarona. Waiting my life Mudimo Ahopolosa if you're not saved. Udwella. You see these mini braids. Here. Diplomile on top of the head. Maybe 4 months. Why? Because for who? For a man. Another time for who? What client do I have to have neat hair for? I need to tell my client one. My management consulting business and McKinsey. Offer the company the change manager. Transformer over to new systems. That was gonna be me. That was my future. But y'all took it. Lang parang nakadi fake khalas. Lang rotlane. Maybe har fedita ka conclusion re shapile conclude. Le ka setelle botlhoko gaka. Maybe ga kids. Raza mara le za mama life thing jaka khale sa apara maybe ga re fetsa mona o apara painting yana. Singers in these streets. Khoshapi we straight la mostrating. Hekiratang kansulatsuli. Mutata mutsutsi. Girl ha ambaring yan mara ki filang kare tlogela diding. Mara has by to a point where nakina le product build up muru utso fetse but I don't care because I haven't cared for years. And then la mona la ho bangang le dikangaru. Li tso rona le batho. Lo ikira betere go phala everybody la mostrating mo ka tsone on the left on the right lo na betere. Ebe le tlo jewa ke mona ya Lucy e batho. Ebe e tlo le bounce ya Lucy lo bloma mo dipilong tsa lena. Iti ready chichi boya. Dipilo tsa lena di be le mafito. Dipilo tsa lena di be jaaka rice e tastang nkare ke meleke because khazang wa drainer of starch. Rice enkareng ke motoho wa itse ba rice eo. La itse guys. La itse rice e la ne e phegilweng. O vetsen shevelo lo tsaya rice wa tsenya ka fa hara pizza wa lighta mollo. Tshela metsi o bo itlogela starch ka fela se fela next thing ga o ipotsa na re keng ka porridge ka motogo o hira ganang fana. Why ke sa kgone go distinguish between one rice green and another? Hobane nkare mona ke dila ka pasty. Ke pasty ena ga se rice. Nkare ke jungle oats. Cause mothateng ha tsebo phega rice guys. Mothateng ha tsebo kholo tsokotsa rice, kholo e rinsa, kholo ntsha starch. Hore o ska tlo dila ka paste ke. O ska tlo dila ka motogo. Ka lebese a ke tsebe jungle oats mara wena o itse tsoro o ja rice even though it's giving the consistency of jungle oats. Kwena mo fitileng mo. Dipelo tsa lena di tshwana le rice eo. E paste ga e right ha ona ntho ka o yetsetsang yona. Ha e monate, ha e thelle. It doesn't taste like rice mara o tshwere ke tlala so o tlo e ja ena hape ga o batla go offenda motho o e phegileng. Dipelo tsa lona di tshwana le rice eo. Dipelo tsa lena di tshwana le rice eo guys. Ele ya paste ele e sang tshiwang starch. Ele e kopaneng nkare ke motogo jungle oats in particular. Ke rice ke dipelo tsa lona di tshwana le rice eo. Nothing gets through. And motho o tlo jang rice ya teng. It's at their own risk. Danger Khafarangozi, enter and be eaten. Rasetsa di phone. Ha ona ntho e sa batleng go di rival di koloi ke di Postman Pat. Ga ke sure nna ke khatetse or maybe wa itse dipele tsa ona di tshwana le eng. Rice ele e bile neng e betere. Se ke la deal ka situation ele. Ya macaroni. Isn't macaroni spaghetti? Le ona la wala tlhela fela ma spaghetti a teng nje fela dropping them like they're hot, like the hot potato. Nkare wena umrepa. Dropping lines like a mic. Tafara hara pizza. O bona dula wena pela Netflix o itse tsore atla tipega macaroni a gago or ma spaghetti atla tipega. Plomo yona o lo bukela Netflix. while rice ya boil isang rice, spaghetti. How kuta? Ufuta fela go lo fuduwa girl, kwena mo fitileng teng mo. Abut wena wa fuduwa. O that dude, I don't know try to vela go fuduwa ko cauldroning. Di busy ka di spell. Ntse le lawyer South Africa e yotlhe e kopane le re tshwantla di tlho le re tshwantla di tlho. Tshwantla. Le re tshwantla le la re tshwatla. Di tlho. Against mabota rona di brain matter tsa rona gray matter di all over mabota cause I get la bolai. Le tletse ka go bolai. Di homicidal randos. Le tletse ka creepy vibes. Harris buys ke le msale na mam. Mara anyway la tsola pele cause I get ona le ntho le tshepileng setana o le cause tso gore le tshepe very much in nonsense ya lona. So ke mo obuti pela ga pizza ya gago OC sisters it was can discriminate ka gender cause really indiscretions it appears they are broad spectrum. O busy motho o ntse scrolla Netflix a pause mara ga pause indiscretion ya go phega macaroni ga botlhoko ga kana ora ke pasta e se ke pasta yo yotlhe mara e se macaroni spaghetti le ona macaroni ba le do a dirty mara spaghetti ke yona e tla go bontshang di flames because it can spaghetti say once a second guys sit tall like cranky mara wena o busy o blomile ko pela Netflix o qeta go lo dropa like a mic nkare umrepa o at a roast battle macaroni or spaghetti whatever ka fa gara pizza o bo vele fela o light the heat tshela metsi o buti maybe sprinkle letswanya na bolo bloma ko pela TV o ntse o sefa di channel wena o buti kwena mo bogileng teng mo e bo go tlhefela o tlo fuduwa cause le rata go fuduwa ka fa gara di pizza ka di cauldron tsa lona le tsa di dead spells go di kitchening tsa lona self-practicing satanist. Rotole etsang mo lifeng. Macaroni alona. Ha tshwane spaghetti, ha tshwane le meriri ya mina ya lantse itsofetse. Lantse e blomile mo godimo ga tlhogo. For 4 months ya yotlhe, at least you can tell hore ena ke one mini braidi, ena ke the other mini braidi. Go separate mo lifeng di two. O bona di mini braidi tse di pedi. Di pedi guys, la di bona di observer. Marane. When our food wants to fudunza, o fuduwa, o sena taba ka taba ya first and foremost to hebana. Anare genye ka go ba bound. Genye ka sofa slahlane, mo ka fa gara pizza. Sofa slahlane no maganjan. We karoni wami no manishie. Sofa slahlane no maganjan. Litumpila mafika mo plating. Eva tong pizza ki mo. Itansale macaroni or ke spaghetti. Jaga ballroom dancer. I'm not letting you go, girl. Dijan. No manichie. So fast lasane. Ako pakopane. Inkare kidi conjoined twins. Mara instead of twins, kidi quadruplets or kidi quadruplets. Hagiti mara. Tobana. This spaghetti yana 7 in one bunch. And then the rest of it, like, so basically everything is just a batch, a group, ke teamwork, ka fagara pizza. Group of 10 macaronis, 10 of spaghettis, di blomi din definitely, no, maganjan. Di abina mo pizza nginze di boila marane. Nothing in you is trying to find out, or agrego separate jwang mo na situation. Di pilotong na di dyan. Di tshwana spaghetti seo, sa go shapa, no, maganjan. Wait, tally wami, so fast lashan. It's 10, di bunched up, but it's 20 sometimes. When I open about tatagadi din, because at the end of the day, olo fida mele wa gago. Haona mathata. La unzo na tamakarone ngare ke borotho o grand. Abuti. O se o shapo, ha unzo na tamakarone ngare ke papa. The way aling bunched up ka teng, you cool. Because food is food. Whether or not there's an individual strand of the spaghetti is irrelevant. Dipelo tsa lona di tshwana le macaroni ao. A kopaneng. A fasitseng mafito a blomileng. Clumped 20 per batch. O boto la sala di deng mo plating ya motho mong. Eja uli wano buti kwena o sa tsebeng go phega macaroni. O si o ngasifundisanga ukwenza macaroni kwena o sa itseng go lo rinsa macaroni go pizzeng kwena o sa iwang di deng akere ga wa rinsa macaroni first and foremost to go hara strainera go kitchening. Secondly azangwa kenya just a little bit nyana ya oily to make sure bo sisters ba ska tlo shapa so fast lahlane ka mara pizza ha bana o sa rati oily then o tlogele pizza e ntse e bulegile ne akere o ntse le busy o ascertain making sure sister girl le brother boy ga re tlotleng instead of standing up on Netflix it's just to make sure ntho tsena di separated. They're not blooming with each other. Karabo manje fela nje so faslahan mo plating mo hara sikotlolo always even mo pizzeng cause hana maitse o jela ka ba hara pizza you that dude. I was by skele me even sa go fepa bana ba gago di nonsense. Spice ke le masa go fepa mosadi wa teng gore men tatu wa teng halis bye nanta guys why because happy wa gago ele mafito jaaka macaroni ao re tla go etsang of course macaroni a tsa ale jalo spaghetti sauce wa sele jalo ditlampo fela rena ba bang re lo accepta fela o botho re mema for dinner o buti o motho wa di braai o rata jwang go phega mara ga o tsebo go phega o si o motho wa di braai o rata jwang go lo mema batho ko dineng mara rona tshwantse re loja so faslahlane cause you think there's nothing wrong le macaroni a kopaneng ga botho go hakana mo pizzeng cause wena ha o etsa macaroni o bloma pela Netflix a ke re la loya ha ke ta mo bele bloma pela Netflix le kopantse so dipelo tsa lena di tshwana le macaroni ao ga di a separate di katla tsa papa anything dipelo tsa lena di jalo or maybe wait dipelo tsa lena di tshwana leng sekile wa lo natha apole we natholle o kwenye oje o hlafune oje and then o bo natha o bo kopana le a ke tsebo re ke sponge and a ke tsebo gore why sele jana since apole ena ntse ko etso nako kaofela it has not been exposed to the air go baneng go le dark brown go baneng ele soft and go baneng ye mo lifeng in ga some kind of way mara kana kwa teng half of it mo molomo o kopana le danger ge far ngozi in the center of the apple and you like oh bathong why mara ke sa sega in half pele before you enjoy the outside kana thana ke busy nze ke kunya ke tsoro bathong an apple a day keeps the doctor away ebe ke tlo kopana le tsiets mahareng a apple dipelo tsa lona di jwala di tshwana le apple motho o busy o plomle le wena ona o grand next thing aba kopana le o ke eng ntho e swabileng hakana mahareng a apple ya ka ke ato ke go bola keng o bo tsoga gore go ba le dimmagot la ntse di teng dimmagot tsa teng o ipotsa gore nga anyaya why no go sa bonagale ka monto re apple e fokotsele e bodile ga botlhoko ga kana ka mahare dipelo tsa lona di tshwana le apple le kopana le sponge mahareng se brown le nyonye le lahle apple ka ofela le feeling ka le ka tlhatsa e le kwentseng already ke dipelo tsa lona mo mafito I need the bathroom ke khutlile I'm back ugalang guys ne like listen I don't ask for a job lingubile nelinda there was a time when I was like nakupa ke lenga ke blomile ke reng thuseng lahan a ke re dipelo tsa lona ke chichiboya guys ke mafito tied up nje fela ka fa gara your chest cavity dipelo tsa lona di tshwana le makeup ena jaka ga e wa ga botlhoko ga kana ga ke bo bona nkare ke sgilogo or ke na le lazy eye bona dipelo tsa lena di jalo di tshwana le filter ga e wa mo sfatlhegong lazy eye di tshwana di go fa lazy eye ke dipelo tsa lena mo ka fa motho lazy eye a feletse fela le mopila ngwana batho a ba le lazy eye because of filter ha gone wrong le jwalo guys dipelo tsa lona ke lazy eye enang le ka re kanji on top of that cause let's get stinch anginkela ngomsebenzi guys azange mina ngahohoba ngathi ngicela ukuthi ningihireni yini eni insist seeing as ni borwe indaba yokuthi mina ngi-creative manje sekele creative no le insistile hore okay ho betere a khutlele morao ko rona a tlo bora ya jaga rena a tlo bloma go desking le ena ntsa phehla di phija phehla ntsa araba di telephone ntsa borwa ke client as na job satisfaction yo I was there yini and insiste ukuthi Karabo ngizokunikeza ispan girl why because hali borwe ke my life whatever you're doing da mo le setting thing utlalang lena ba dipelo tsa macaroni a kopaneng a sofa slahlane a di spaghetti tsa go ba sofa slahlane utlelang apole ya go nna brown mo centereng utlelang rice ya go nna pasting ka re jungle oats utlelang lona ba dipelo tse jwala tse re sa di goneng a ka le kopa mosebetsi yo a nginkelang Let that be a mic drop. Akalekopa. Azangaza mina ngathi ngiyancenga bro wami enhlaka zengukusier. Kunzima ngaphandle lana kunzima sam. Ngisho ngathi kunzima kodwa while saying ukuthi kunzima azange not even once did I ever say ukuthi ngiyandinga ukuthi ningi place. Singeza akekho umuntu la emgaqona ufuna ukunginikeza i-opportunity yokuba placed again. Azange lokuba hore lelo functiona as a recruitment agent lankut khana motho o ne kopileng le ntshitse ditsope di bonga mo strating le sna maitseo le shapile straight la le re halerata le ka tsela precisely because you think I need you etla kopa re tlotling Harry tlotling wait all this decorum that I lost I don't belong to the system anymore. I didn't leave the system because I didn't want to be part of it. I wasn't one of those people also, I'm not going to be working in the system. You're stuck in the system. These 9-to-5 jobs, please. It's all a big fat web, a conspiracy to make us all mindless drones. I was never that girl. I was never out here chilling at home making an excuse for being lazy. Yeah. Saying I don't want to be part of a system. I was happy to contribute to this mutinous system because it keeps on spitting people out. But then it vomited me. Linkuvile, guys. Linkuvile. Linkuvile. You were like, girl, that's all good in the hood. I was like, Hakis on me ready. Telling nanga malifing, kupa to untuheling. Unkatuhing. Kupa liskang target washing because nagi mutuaho aina very well. And right now, kubali crease niya because of face yakakuyahong target washing. Kaya appreciating. Ntuheneng I nilen na. Lang vimba na lang kari washing. And then you threw me out the building. I was like, oh. I was so sad. You fired me from a job I needed. You fired me from a job I needed. You got me fired even though I was completely innocent. From a job I needed. I was paying some bills, yo. Yeah. I was planning a future. Yeah, I was taking myself to school and I had plans to start a consultancy business. But not yet. Closer to 40, more than anything. Yeah, I wanted to spend all of my 20s, some of my 30s just acquiring experience in corporate South Africa. Then I would hop over into a management consulting firm. Because then I would gather for myself clients and network through the corporate landscape, find people that I like that I'm gonna then call and poach from the companies where I was working. Yeah, I was gonna steal clients that I serviced. That's what I was planning on doing one day. But then I got kicked out before I could garner for myself enough experience. Before I could garner for myself contacts, network. Before I could do any of that. Yeah, before I could do what it would take in order for me to get to where I would need to be in order to start a business that is actually gonna go somewhere. Yeah, before I could do anything of that nature. You kicked me to the curb, so if at all I could not garner for myself enough experience to start my own little Mackenzie, my own little Deloitte, I had to find something else then. Because in order for me to start my own little Mackenzie, I gotta have enough experience to be believable. But I mean, like, if you're gonna chop my career off at just the, 8-year mark of experience gained in a particular role, 7-year mark, 5-year mark is not enough time. Sorry. Yeah, I'm flaming. It's not enough time. I didn't have enough time to get enough experience for me to have a firm where I got a whole bunch of change managers, management consultants, project managers, business analysts, and the like reporting into me. I didn't have enough time to create that. I did not have enough time. I didn't have enough time. Never in my life was I ever planning on starting anything creative. That's the thing. I said the other day that I've always been a suit, hey? I've always been a suit. That was me. Hopping up and down like a kangaroo. I've always been a suit. There are people out there in these streets that are like, oh, I wish I was a singer. I to fix I spit some lines, roast battle. I rap. I'm like, you got all that going down. So that I a rapper. I was never that girl. I was fashion designer. I was never that girl. I was never the kind of person to want to leave corporate for a very creative alternative career. I was going to leave corporate for corporate. I was always going to be a suit. One of the few people on earth that are okay with wearing white every day. I was always going to be a suit. I spoke about it the other day, that at varsity, I wanted to pierce my ears, but I didn't because I knew I was always going to be a suit and I needed to be professional looking. Look at my filter falling off. Yeah. In order for me to stay a suit, to be a suit, and have a business as a suit, I needed to gain experience as a suit. But then I was kicked out from the suit, and people put some bogat with some torn, like, you know, people then went on right ahead and put like untidy hair, that is apparently inappropriate for corporate. People went and just threw on some skipa selengang on the side, on my body. People just put on basically the stuff of a person that doesn't have to wake up and impress anybody. They put me in that for so many years that I got over being a suit. So many years. I enjoyed, like, right to this day, I have di kwai nje feel like the blomileng tse gathering dust. Mara ke dula ke apere tlepe. Haling believe me. Ke tla le bontsha. Ke dula ke apere tlepe. I'm always wearing it tlepe, I mean. Yeah. Di blomileng nje feel like gathering dust. My pumps, my flats, my kwais. Yeah. My suity outfits, hey? Di jacket, di jans, rabaki, nekele sistabaki, nekele mabaki, kidla kabarabaki na. Always wearing a coat and a jacket. Yeah, that's what's good. Shirts, dresses, all the way down to, like, you know, my ankles, my knees, for decency and all that jazz. Modesty as a Christian, of course, you know, I would never be immodest, but like I bought my wardrobe was corporate, largely. Damn. Yo, let's talk, okay? Like, do you know that I was such a suit that because I was not active at the time, physically, like, niggas at Jimmy, I only started working out, like, now, thanks because of all this sorrow, suffering. Recently, in Zekisa Jimmy, because I get a link, tawi si Zekari Taran, Zeli Bisling Tumpan Naka indiscretion for what I had. Ne? Halina Maizio wins. Yeah, Mamela. Yeah. Diteki, because I wasn't athletic. There was no need for me to buy them. That's why to this day, that's why when it comes to exercise apparel. When after starting a fitness, like, side of trying to make money online, yeah, I can diteki. They are 1 size, 2 sizes too big, cause ke size ya mewak. Kidi hand me down. Next diteki. I didn't buy sneakers, because for what? I was never, even in my casual outfits, the kind of chick to rock sneakers. I would always wear pumps, you know, a kitten heel, some cute little strappy shoe, because that's how I always adorned my body with clothing that is very much like that of a suit. Next diteki. And now I wish I had bought diteki. I wish I was more active then, because then I would have, like, you know, a collection of sneakers, but I didn't have diteki. Because I was a suit. Even on Fridays at work, Bogat day, jean day, I would wear a jean, but with heels. Yeah, so topeka etletsekari kwai. One of these days, these boots are gonna walk all over you. Marata dusty lero lewankutla, because I kiso di apare in years. So I mean, for me to look at my shirts, my dresses, my coats, di baki tami nice, my kwais, for me to look at them more topong de fala didn't say di all dust. Gathering dust, guys, eh? Like proper, getting eaten by moths and everything. Move across the many places that I have stayed in this season because of all the sorrow. It's been painful. For years, like Roko, that would have been sitting there for years, cause even in my ministry, it's easy and whatever's around and come and talk. I don't go out of my way to dress a particular way anymore. But my wardrobe is full of suits. It's full of corporate. And last time I was there was, or at least with any level of decency, 10 years ago. I cried, I mourned. Trana snot everything with drool and alles. I cried. My eyes alle puffy. While gets this suit to yummy nice. Di bar, di tweba. Bonang makeup o kimoya fofa. Lengza mo sebetsi. Kalla. Hooray. Di kela di tseletsa high sal. Di pelo tsa lona di tshwana di pelo tsa hanse di. What did I say that already? Di na le lazy eye. Yeah. Ga di reliable. Shifting shadows just like my filter. That's what's good. Ke di pelo tsa lona mo di fitileng. Di tshwana le Karabo ga mina apere filter mo sfatlhegong. Eko mamela. Ga ka le kopa mosebetsi. Not recently anyway. You were supposed to love me. You were supposed to appropriately react to somebody o le morata. You were supposed to say no marantoba yensen Karabo I ebodile. You were supposed to call me. Hey? You were supposed to say, girl, I heard what happened. What in the world? You were supposed to hug me. You were supposed to buy ice cream, come to my apartment, us eat it together while we pine and mope over the fact that I got fired without cause. You were supposed then to be sorry, really sorry, that I was losing my job. Not my job, but my apartment. You were supposed to, when I was starting to go hungry, buy me groceries, seeing as you're still employed. You were supposed to help me move out of my apartment, seeing as I have to leave, otherwise I'll get evicted. I can't pay rent anymore. You were supposed to then help me pay storage for where my furniture is at, until I could perhaps find another job. Given that we were all professionals in corporate South Africa, you were supposed to then call in a favor with your aunt, your uncle, and be like, are there any openings for project management jobs in your company? My girl just lost her job. You were supposed to pull strings for me. You were not supposed to watch me suffer. Do you understand? Yeah, you were supposed to call me and say, Karabo, MTN might have fired you, but Vodacom is hiring. And I spoke to my boss. You were supposed to keep pushing my CV to recruitment agents that are your friends and be like, girl, do you know I had a friend recently that reached out to me about 2 years ago that started a recruitment agency ever since we left. You know the thing that I was talking about, that I was eventually going to leave corporate and start my own little firm? She started one. And the firm she started was HR. It was recruitment. Instead, what did she do? Gloated that she is a businesswoman now, an entrepreneur. Instead of take my CV and try and proliferate me. She found out that I am unemployed, was all concerned for 5 seconds, being in recruitment as a recruitment agent, running a recruitment agency. She could have done that which recruitment agents that don't know me would have done. Take my CV, even though I had a 5-year gap in my CV at the time. I've got a 10-year gap now, but then it was like 5 years. She could have taken it and been like, I know Karabo, I know her better. Instead, gang Glotella on WhatsApp, staffing solutions, staffing solutions. And I'm like, I'm unemployed and I've been saying it. Recruitment agents won't see me because the gap in my CV is unseemly. It's unattractive. Yeah, but you know me. You can talk to a company, hi, I have a project manager. Do you want to see her? You could just have pushed for it, just punt it for me, hey? Advocate it for me. I mean, the companies don't have to see me, but you can try and get me seen by them. If they don't want to see me, okay, I tried, girl, but like, but try. She didn't even ask me to send her my CV. She didn't even ask. Fair weather, la kutwa. Guys, gikoshiwe. We were all young professionals, littered across these streets of Johannesburg. We're working in sooty professions. I only had one friend that had a creative career that I could never enter into. She was a fashion designer, but everybody else was a suit. Everybody else was a sister kwai kwai. Everybody else was a brother tie. Everybody else was a rabaki or a mabaki. Everybody else was in corporate South Africa. All over the show. Working for KPMG, Liberty Life, Telkom, Mobile. Oh goodness, like, this one is gonna crack you up. I had a family member that became an executive at Vodacom. Something like 1.5 years after I lost my job. Vodacom. I mean, you're probably wondering, what is that about? Who cares about Vodacom? I worked for a telecommunications company, the second biggest one in South Africa, for 5 years. When you are a staff member at that height, that kind of career level, executive, and you've got a family member that has got 5 years telco experience, 3.5 years of which are in project management, and you don't ask the operations manager or the finance executive, you don't ask the business executive of your unit if at all they're looking for PMs that have got telco experience. Well, when you don't do, what are you doing? When you don't do that, oh, like I said, you know, so fast latlane, no maganjan, keep it just spaghetti sa kopani. Mafito. The shoelaces are tied wrong. Study zigzag instead of the straight lines. I had a family member that was an executive. No, that's not middle management, that's senior management. That worked for a rival company from the company that I used to work for. And she did not hook me up. She did not think to call in a favor for me. Or maybe she did, she just chose not to. Yeah. I had friends working all across these streets of South Africa. Like I said, Telkom, Vodacom, FNB, Standard Bank, before I was put on the credit bureau. I had friends working all over these streets of Johannesburg in financial services where I have experience, telecommunications where I have experience, ICT essentially where I have experience, training, basically, what do you call this? The industry that would be for training and education. I had experience there too, because I was a facilitator at Nedbank. People working in such fields as these, who could have hooked me up with any plethora of jobs given my CV. Yeah, sitting back on some whatever. Not only were these people like all distant, hey, yeah, they also didn't do anything for me. They not only did they not do anything for me, sorry, but they were also distant. And that's what really ate me alive, like consumed me like a maggot. The thing that really, really made out of me a non-entity when it came to all this menacing activity in the streets of Johannesburg. Was in Dabayoguti, okay, girl, I can understand. I have to shake my head. The thing that really got to me was the fact that, look, I can understand. Lena, I've had people ask me back in the day, Karabo, you work for MTN, can you hook me up, girl? Is there anything that you can find for me there? And it's so burdensome when somebody asks you that, because you're just a program coordinator or you're a project manager, sure. But then this person, when you ask them, what have you done in your experience? You don't know guy. You don't know where to place them. Okay? Because in your team, you know that they're busy hiring project managers, but he's not a project manager, right? In IT, you don't know anybody there that you can talk to. Hey, can you please speak to your boss about this one dude that I know? He's looking for a job inside MTN. It's all very burdensome. So for you to have to get out of your own comfort zone and try to proliferate the CV of someone from outside that's asking to move into your company, but in a department that's different where you don't know people, it's really rough. I've had one of my ex's cousins want to come into MTN. He was an IT dude, and I was a project manager, but I did not have a strong enough relationship with IT execs and a strong enough relationship with the bosses of these guys that I worked with. So I spoke with the guys. I was like, you guys, do you need new coders? Do you need new developers and whatnot? And they were like, we'll talk to our boss. The resources in my projects, I would ask them. But you know the burden that sits on your shoulders when somebody asks you, girl Zina, I want to work for your company, but you the skill set of this person, you don't even know. It can be taxing. It can be challenging. It can be challenging. I don't think I actually have tried. I have successfully gotten somebody an interview, but not even for my company, but I spoke to a cousin of mine where it is that there was an opening in the company where she was working for a woman that was working at MTN that was sick and tired of the job that she was working, and I forwarded her CV to that cousin and she got the interview, but she bummed it. She did not get the job because she just choked in the interview. But I have tried to connect somebody with basically enablement. I've done that before, you guys. I have indeed achieved such a feat as that with limited success. So it is understandable when you can't help somebody truly get placed. But when you are over and above not being able to place them, but having at least tried, right? At least tried. You spoke to the IT guy in your project to see if he can't put in a good word to his manager about some dude outside that's trying to work for MTN. Yeah. You tried, but it didn't give anything. Anything. And then you go back on some girl gizame, but I'll keep pushing. If something happens, I'll keep pushing. I'll see who I can talk to. Oh, brother boy. It's one thing to fail to place a person, even though you tried. But it's another to not only refuse to help them, stand back, but also to just distance yourself like you never knew them. To just act like it's not sad that Karabo was not working. Yo, hi. The world hates disciples. The world hates disciples. I'm a Christian. So, this insanity, it gets done against believers. It's weird and it's strange. But herein lies the deal. Angin kailangan Espanol. I did once. There was a time when I was like, help me please. There was a time when I expected, frankly, like after I got suspended from my job without cause, my phone was eerily dormant. My phone was eerily silent. Upon this, the news spreading across the business that Karabo got suspended. The fact that people I used to call friends while also being colleagues. The fact that out of all of them, the plethora of them, there were only 3 that called. On some girl I heard what happened, what in the world is going on. 3. And once I got fired, they disappeared altogether. So when I got suspended, 3 called me, and then when I got fired, none called. So even the 3 that called me initially disappeared, and for me it's like I was at MTN for 5 years. 5. And in that space, I gathered for myself, I don't know how many friends, there were colleagues as well as friends. Some of them, 2 women when I had just come back from the hospital after surgery, came to see me with flowers. I met the one's daughter that day. They came to where I was staying, my mom's house at the time. I had moved back home, and I was still all bandaged up, and this chick came to visit me with her daughter. So, I mean, that's family right there, right? That's no longer a colleague. That's family. She and her daughter kept me company the whole day. We laughed, we broke bread and whatnot, and then they went home. Two of my colleagues, during the time when I was recovering at home, came to visit me. Yeah, two of them came to visit me. And the same women, after I lost everything. It's like, girl, if you could see me after my hospital stay, how in the world? Like, they just come true colors, y'all. The thing about me going for surgery is that, I mean, I still had a job. I was still okay. I was gonna come back to work. But when you lose a job, that's a class thing. You are no longer now part of the workforce. So, whatever pelo ya chichiboya, lemenoto that I've always had, utloy born again. Utloy born pelo ya chichiboya Karabo. And I'm like, yo, next time utloy born again, mara we shapile straight mostrating. Eh? It's reane, it's otsimo. Kaya ba, ha ba tle le penti. At least penti. Re tla ba shebana le dimbambo tsa gago ge. Mara kopande fela o lo covera easy. Tshwana le di breletse tse wang ha ke nwa metsi. Coffee, sure. I got phone. Nobody kept up with, not nobody. There was a guy that kept on trying to contact me through my blog. And I thought he was my friend Impela, and I would respond and we communicated. But the moment I asked him for msebenzi, I asked him to help me get a job. When I was now unemployed for, it had been at that stage maybe like 4 years. Watula, yo, guys. So 3 women called me after I lost my job, who did not stay with me after I got suspended. They called me, but then after I lost my job, they disappeared. A guy friend stuck around, even going to the point of pursuing me on my blog after my number changed, because at MTN we used to use staff cell phones, and that number got discontinued for me because I was no longer a staff member at MTN. So he couldn't find me on my cell phone or whatever, but he knew my blog and would write me in my blog, and that's where I would respond. We stayed in touch. I gave him my number, and he would text me, and we would like exchange, and he would be like, we should meet for lunch. And I was like, I'm not yet ready to see anybody, but we'll stay in touch. You're my friend. Thank you for sticking by he was the only one. He was the only one that pretty much kept in touch with me. But the moment I asked him to help me with something relating to employment, there's a ghost town, tumbleweed, Joe. Watula, man, Watula. And I'm like, dude, I asked you to help me. Come on, Sevezi. Watula. That was the last time I spoke with that guy. That was the last time he ever tried to reach me through my blog. That was the last time he ever tried to direct message me on social media. He just basically backed off because I asked for help. When days are dark, friends are few. No, they're not few. They're scant. Like, I tried. It's a mass exodus, a migration strategy, a tactic of sorts to leave. You left me. Nishiamin. And some of y'all who could have helped me get a job, lehanne. Recruitment, placement, agent, business owner, entrepreneur, lady, friend. You had a placement agency. You owned a placement agency! And you did not think to ask for my CV. Instead, you gloated that you're a businesswoman now. Still competing. Uzokompita kanjani nomfazi ongenamsebenzi? Uzokompita kanjani nomuntu ozwe obuhlungu nje na? Somebody that is so heartbroken, how are you competing with them? What is happening? What's going on? Pelusa chichiboya, man. So, I mean, after 5-6 years of trying to make it back to corporate South Africa with literally men and women encircling me that are part of corporate South Africa. Friends, guys, like I told you, I only had one friend that was a little bit of a creative flower. The rest of them were suits, and I was a suit. Everywhere where they worked, they could have, hey, Karabo, girl, give me your CV. Karabo, girl, give me your CV. Yo, it's been too long. 2 years, girl, shame. Ghost, Wankutla, tumbleweed. Rolling around in these streets of Johannesburg, I was like, so much betrayal. Not only was I endured through all that hardship, right, of that kind of betrayal, but then I also had to deal with this, listen up, active sabotage to try and block me from making it back in again. Kilelorile dinjabato, kilelorile, kinalempo, kinalenewo. Mudimo umpile the gift of sight. I get dreams, I get visions. Ke bona boloi. Ke le bona gantse le busy le no ata konyesa mo strateng mona. Ke le bona ntse le busy ka methylated spirits monana. Matekwane a le wa tsubang a nang le nyaupe le manala le JS fluid le bleach. Ge le qadile go wa bena, ha le qadile go wa cheese, le wa misitse le mpepho, le best brand. Ke wa lora. Ke lora misi ya lona. The experiments tsa lena ko di kitchening tsa lona that you have converted into a laboratory. The consultations tsa lena le di sangoma tsa South Africa e kaofela. Ke a le bona. I see. I'm a seer. God shows me the filthy works that you are randomly scattered about these streets walking in. Nyanpupa zinja. Nyanpupa. Eva. Nyanpupa. So not only did you stand back, Zingulube, and do nothing, not only did you display ukuthi kudala kanshab that you had it in for me, yeah, not only did you show by just being omissive, by simply just like standing back and saying nothing, doing nothing. At the corporate ladder, and still not thinking to call my CV, to call me to take my CV. Not only did you do that, not only did you just stand back and do jack, but you also participated in extra mutinous work. Like, how can I describe what y'all did, eh? It's like you went to my burial site. Mo ke bulukilweng. Mo se topo sa ka se bolang mo haram mo. Ebe le tshela mo on it hore ke ska resurrect. Lengloile. Over and above standing back and doing nothing, you then cast spells on me. Hore ke ska phapama hape. Le ka ba le mona hakalo. He bathong le ba bolai ha le bona. If it was not for Matla, against Hercules, Amrana Jesu, ang pilang honor to deal with all this betrayal. That's why this is murder. It's murder. You're complacent, you know. It's culpable homicide because you put a person in a position to kill themselves. It's murder by suicide. If it wasn't for God. And all of y'all were happy, content with the prospect of my suicide. You called it a necessary evil. Or something that it would be great if she didn't do it, but if she did, she was a burden. Whoa. Hey? Whoa. You're worse even than my burp. Not only did you sabotage, not only did you do nothing about me losing my job, but then you insisted on khotela musanta le samente. Ebele omisaka blow dryer to expedite process ya go patwa ya go bolokwa ya ga Karabo. You ascertained. Not only did you do nothing, but you also put cement on the grave burial site where I was buried. Moleng pulikileng teng. Ni khutletse morago bosiu dintsha. Ni khutletse morago. La tshela cement. La tshela soil, sand. Anything. Matlapa. Anything e imelang. Like beda. Hore just in case modimo ankire Lazarus nyana ke phele. Hore ko suffocate ke ska ba le moya. Hore ko tlhokafala. You know, there was something called back in the day before doctors were able to successfully call a person not tlhokafetseng. There were people who were confirmed dead, declared dead, who on days of their funerals or in the mortuary would suddenly wake up. And so when people realize, guys, sometimes we are declaring, confirming dead, living people. Akukho safe lana. Abantu basaphila bazophapama. What if baphapama in their graves? After we put them in the ground, what if they wake up there, next thing they like Carly in Days of Our Lives? Remember how she got buried alive by Vivian? And then she put like some ventilating breathing machine in there to give her just enough oxygen to know that she's been buried alive, and to then, of course, after that, asphyxiate, pass away. Buried her like Carly. Of course, Bo found her. Yeah. Remember, these are the days of our lives. Anyway. Yeah. To make sure that people don't end up like Carly, buried alive and waking up inside a casket. It's already deep in the ground. They then came up with a whole strategy. They put a bell inside caskets that, or some kind of a string or a bell right inside caskets, that if a dead body just wakes up, a person that is not dead, alright, they can then just ring this bell or pull or yank this lever, and then it would go clicky, 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 clicky in the ear of what would be a person that would have a shift to work that night, right? To ensure that the dead that have been buried are dead. Or if somebody is alive, clicky, clicky, clicky. So basically coffins were made with this device in them, just in case people aren't really dead. That they might be dug up in the caskets where they were laying. And And the man or woman that would be given that job, it was more than likely a man, would then be called a person who is working the graveyard shift. That is where that saying comes from. A graveyard shift is a person working at night to listen in to graves of newly buried people just in case they wake up, because medical technology had not yet advanced. Yeah. Next thing you go and dig out a body, and you discover that, oh my goodness, we wrongfully buried a person over here that was not actually truly dead. Ain't nobody worked the graveyard shift around me. And the sad thing is, people made like Vivian and buried me. They did. They made like Vivian and they buried me, knowing I'm alive, and insisted that no one listen in for my and just like Carly, I screamed, ah! Pulled the lever. I'm alive. I've been buried alive. I'm alive. I've been buried alive. Somebody dig me out. And they told the dude who works the graveyard shift to go home for tonight. It's unlikely that anybody's still alive. And the anticipation or hope is that I will asphyxiate to death. I will just suffocate. I will just die. I didn't have to, but I'm dead now, aren't I? Yeah. I had people put cement, bricks, boulders, whatever, on top of a casket that has been buried deep in the ground. The casket of a woman who was buried alive by monsters. And then these monsters made sure that nobody listens for my These people not only kept quiet and said nothing about my sorrow, but they also made sure that I don't come up again. Only for me to realize, only for me to discover that, the very same people that don't want me to come up from the graveyard shift, not from the graveyard shift, from the casket, and that don't want anybody to work the graveyard shift, they actually cost my career. That's why they're doing nothing. You cost my career. Like, you're the reason why I lost everything. I mean, the sabotage that happened with the weird little people that falsely accused a woman, that was just a byproduct of all the other witchcraft. But that random, nasty little satanic Indian chick that caused the end of my life was just a byproduct. In and of herself, she was a witch, but frankly, she wasn't the biggest mutineer against my life. The mutineers, the most marvelous mutineers against my life, were my friends. It was my family members. Yeah. Okay? Some colleagues, but it was basically people that were close to me. Yeah. Those were the ones that already cast spells on me to lose my clout, to lose my career, to lose the prospect of getting married. The very people that basically outed themselves. Nizikipile zinjari. Kichelo karakele blomile mostratengeka stretla. Hakiratang kasola sola wasola kel. But so it's a mostrateng. Butt naked, walking around, obviously mutineers against an innocent woman's life. Mara. Safety in numbers, that's what you say, right? So they protect each other. Yeah. But protectan. They got each other's backs at my incredible expense. Like, it is so sad. So sad. They protect each other at my expense. They are in consensus with each other that if I pass away, it's unfortunate. We did not quite plan for her to die. Marasa hlaza jwanong. Why kele hlaza? Because I can galora. That's the thing. Galora. When I was still employed, why? Because I was brushing off the dorozaka then, because right. Mara after everything, every dream I had before and all the dreams that kept on coming afterwards. Ke bona best friend I shapile straight se had no como strating. Ke ha ke bona former ex-boyfriend. Ke ha ke bona family member. Ke ha ke batho. Ke re batho le ka le bangata gakana anare. Is there anyone in South Africa o sa loying? Is there anyone? O teng nje motho o sa tsubing matekwane nje fela just for breakfast. O sa swing a ikepele ka nyaupe. E misitseng le manale jazz fluid bateng. Is there anyone? You know the Bible says about the Lord's return. Will the Lord find faith on the earth, Magabuy? Ukhona umuntu that believes in Jesu kaneti. O teng na. I need to go pee.